Hello, I'm Chris Godbert, and this is a vlog for Papyrus3D, which is a framework game engine building based on A-Frame, the WebGL, WebXL framework. So, if you've seen the other devlogs, you can also view this as a continuation of that devlog series or as a self-contained video. Because today I'm going to talk about, basically ask anybody who watches this video who's interested in interactive fiction building, narrative game design, what sort of features they might like in a interactive fiction design 3D engine, basically. But it's sort of hard to define. One of the things I've struggled with as I've been doing this project is definition, but it's starting to become a bit more clear now. Anyway, so Papyrus3D is starting to get somewhere now. I think I'm almost at an alpha level of release. It is semi-functional with the map editor, and you can render scenes and switch to another scene, and you can there is a dialogue system to pull in specific dialogues and interact with the environment, and a movement system and everything else. So it is starting to become more of a thing. Recently, which was a big win and was actually easier than I thought it would be, that there'll probably be some things to iron out, is a build system. So for a system for command line interface to create production builds. So this could be an executable, a Linux app image. I think it does also Mac, but I've not tested that. And mobile phone builds, so you could actually bundle your game up for multiple platforms. Now I've got this basically working on Linux, which I've tested it out on. Not had a chance to test it with the mobile versions, but that's quite a big win. So that's one big win from the dev work I've been doing recently on the project. Now I'll talk about it. I'll show some videos as well about the project as a whole, what direction I see it going. So it's an open source game engine. Like I said, it's based on the WebGL framework A-Frame. So primarily it's focused on developing VR and AR games. The idea is that you'll be able to create interactive fiction games and sort of dungeon crawler games in 3D with a map editor, and then you can, like I said, build it to multiple platforms. So far it's got a gaze based movement, so you have a gaze cursor which you can use to navigate around the world. I'm also thinking about implementing a distance check for that, because currently at the minute you can look at any part of the map within reason, and if you can see it you can move to it and it just teleports you there, which is fine, but I think I need to obviously introduce a limit on that. There is interactive objects, so I've started developing a prefab system as well, which is one of the key things I've been working on most of this week. So a prefab system means that you can load in your own GLB models or OBJ. There is a bit of functionality to hopefully to do that. GLB is usually better for WebGL, but anyway, yeah, basically it just allows you to load in custom models, and you can also load in interaction. So for example, if you look, an example at the minute, you can look at a model of an old computer and a bit of text will pop up in the dialog box. There's some further work I need to do as well around the dialogues, so that dialogues are basically keyed to individual characters or objects. Now that's sort of in place, but basically for characters, if you had a character with multiple dialogues, I want a way to be able to, a unique identifier if you will, that actually works with each dialogue. But yeah, the dialogue actually does work. Like I said, the basic going through each dialogue. One thing I do have to do is also introduce choice, a way to interact with choices. So if you have a dialogue, for example, say I'm a character and I say go left or right, and you should get an option that says like either 1 or 2, and then using the gaze based controller should be able to look at 1, select 1 that does something, 2 does something. This is something I have to think about a bit more, like how to trigger and what just the level of openness I want for interactivity, if you will. I've also been working on a locked door functionality with keys, which is still in progress, but that will allow it so that you can find certain keys, if you will, which can then trigger like lock door event, and it would unlock that door. Obviously, one of the interesting challenges of a project like this is how to handle UX and UI, which is still an ongoing thing. I'm still figuring out the best ways to do that. Obviously, because I want it to support as much as possible VR, AR, and also just running in the web or in an executable. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, hence the gaze-based movement. Like I said, I did disable WSAD movement recently because I thought, well, A, there's no physics implemented in the game engine. This is more a game engine to have a more like interactive 3D experience of a typical narrative game, or like a sort of game you see in Twine, except in 3D. That's the big idea. If there's any idea of this whole thing, it's that. So anyway, I'm going to be showing some clips while I'm doing this video. I would like to ask people to get involved if they can, like people, especially people who develop interactive fiction. If you just watch this video, or you can even check out the code base. It is you can probably run it at the minute, but obviously it says it's a work in progress till the alpha's done. It's pre-alpha, so it might not. There'll be various stages of completeness basically for it. But you can try it out. You can look at the code if you're a coder as well. With the actual code, I'm just doing a rapid iteration process using JavaScript. So yeah, some bits are rough and ready, but it's mostly vanilla JS really I'm using, to be honest. Obviously I'm using A-Frame's component entity system as well, so I'm developing a ever-increasing component library for the engine. The way it actually functions is there's the engine code, which handles all the logic and the key functions like loading data from JSON, configuration, and then the actual component system. So you have the library, which handles all the hard lifting really, and then the component system, which handles most actions, events, etc, etc. Anyway, that's sort of that. I'll probably do another video. We'll go further into that technical detail if you wish. Maybe I might do a further video on the component where I actually talk in depth about it. Obviously, like, it's still work in progress. This is a constant iterative process I'm doing for this thing. So again, if you look at the code base, it's not like the finished code. There's still going to be bugs in it. But if you do want to check it out, then yeah, the GitHub link is down below. Next steps for this thing is I want to obviously get the alpha done. Once that's done, I'm going to make some sort of public-facing website. I'm planning on starting a Kickstarter as 2, which will be starting pretty soon. I want to get that done. I'm going to be asking probably for just a small amount just to help with like domain costs for setting it up and all that, and basically just getting a bit of a return on the hard work I've been doing, I suppose. But mostly it's for promoting it, trying to set up a website. I quite like the idea of trying to create a community. I think there already is a Discord. Well, neglected it a bit, but I will put a link to that on here, and I will probably be posting updates on that again. I think this does really have the potential to be an interesting tool for people. I'm trying to make it as easy to use as possible, whilst also offering some flexibility. If you want something that's analogous to that I'm trying to design near to, is Ren'Py. Ren'Py's a 2D visual novel engine. Very nice actually, but with that you've got, you can customize it to your heart's content. You can edit there's a lot of configuration that you can edit, but the basic functionality out of the box works, and then you just have to config files to get it to work usually. Obviously there's a lot of other customizable stuff you can do as well. It's going to be released under a GNU license, version 3. What this basically means is that it's quite open source, so you can make games from it and sell them if you want. So if you made a cool game with it, you're completely free to distribute it, charge for it if you want. Only thing is, obviously, because it's GNU, you would have to also release your own source code, which would basically be a copy of the original for free. So if you bundled up a version of the template which it comes with, then you would also have to release it under GNU. And GNU also stipulates, I think, that you can't, like, if you say, for example, if you're a clever bugger and you think, Chris has done all this code, I'm just going to take it and start charging people for it. You can't really do that. You can't make a closed sourced system derivative that's based on this GNU project. Basically, you just have to release it with the same license. I think this gives a maximum flexibility for people who generally want to make experiences and games with it, whilst also making sure that someone doesn't benefit and profit from a lot of work that I've done over like 8 months, basically. So there's a nice like middle ground between, I don't know, yeah, it's just basically protects me a bit, but also makes it open so that people can improve on it. And you can, you know, like if you wanted to do contributions or like wanted to fix things or help me out, then that's obviously, I'd appreciate that. So if anybody wants to get involved, just buzz me a message on the Small Nerd channel, let me know. In terms of people now, just if you've got any feature requests that you think would be, you know, useful in such a system, then let me know what they are. Something I'm going to probably start doing this soon is like just so you can place lights, which will add a lot of atmosphere to levels. So you can add your lights within the map editor. Map editor needs a lot of obviously updates. It also does support now custom height for floors, which is for walls, which is really useful. It's a bit like, because I basically watched this video on sector models in Doom, the Doom engine, and I thought that will actually offer a lot more customizability. The maps themselves are, you know, they're block based. It's essentially block based, but again, especially with the prefabs system in place, I think that does give you a lot more opportunity for, you know, making environments a bit more interesting. One other thing I'm going to try working on soon is outdoor scenes. So I'm going to use probably A-Frame's environment component and then build a sort of the flooring system based on the size of that. I've just had some thoughts around that, not got around to doing it yet, but that would make more sort of realistic-ish environment that you can still move around the movement system, as well as obviously enemies and AI, which I've started implementing a bit, which remains quite basic and, you know, not really working at the minute. Obviously that'll be a thing. One other thing I'll update. So there's in the original demo there was a gun, like an FPS sort of template gun. So I'm going to leave that in there, but I've added a flag in there now so you can turn it on and off. Obviously not all games are going to be combat focused. You can swap the gun out for whatever model you want as well. You might have to go into the actual index HTML and edit some scaling and stuff. That is also, I think, in the config for that part. But I'll go into a much further detail when it's just all ready. In terms of the actual, so at the minute I am obviously running a demo project in the public folder, which is the folder that gets built, or to, you know, actually perform the build with. The build is done with Electron, so Electron is just a way to bundle up HTML, JavaScript, CSS into an executable. So I'm using Electron for that, which is quite useful. That's working alright. I've probably rambled a bit here. I hope I've not gone beyond what you can understand if you're, you know, casual viewer. But basically, if you are interested in this project, let me know below. See what you think about it. See if it's a good idea. Like I said, this has just been an experimental thing. I wanted to try and create some sort of game engine. It is somewhere between a game engine per se and a framework, because it's obviously built on A-Frame, which itself is an abstraction of 3JS. But I think it's a good use of that library. I think it does really have some nice potential use cases for creating interactive fiction games in 3D with, you know, whilst there will still be a little bit of technical knowledge required. It's not going to be horrendously, you know, difficult. The main reason I tried to do it is I'm doing the abstract bit, taking a lot of time doing that, so that people can just quickly create, as I said, like similar to the way that Rempe is, their own experiences with the minimum fuss, right? Anyway, I'll leave the video at that. Like and subscribe. I want to do more like updates, technically focused ones about Papyrus, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, in a bit.